For more on this story, I'm joined now by Mary Ann Russo, who is a technology journalist based here in London. So, is it about time we got tough with these companies? Have they had a free run for too long?
Um, I would say they probably have had somewhat of a free run, but also we never really established the rules because we didn't know how technology and online services would change. So I'd say it's more a case that we're all learning together.
And will these companies be easy to control? And in fact, how will they be monitored in any meaningful way?
So what this new DSA means is that companies now have to submit risk assessments. They have to show EU regulators how they're going to be able to comply with the rules, and this is regarding being a lot more clear about reporting and removing illegal content. So that means making it much clearer to the public on how content is removed, letting them know when it is removed, reasons for why it is removed, explaining their moderation policies in a lot more detail, and also just being a lot more transparent about advertising. But the EU, very interestingly, has stopped short of requiring all of these large platforms to seek user consent to provide any kind of personalized ads, which was a huge point of contention. They are still allowing some personalized ads. However, the ads cannot be looking at your location or your sexual orientation, and you can't you serve ads to children and young people which are based on their personal data. So actually the laws are not as drastic as they could have been, but the real issue is whether companies comply, and are the 200 people being hired by the EU to facilitate and moderate and maintain these laws, are they going to be enough to sort of make sure that everybody, all tech companies, because this will affect from February, it's going to affect all tech companies. From today, it just affects the 16 biggest, what they call very large online platforms or very large search engines in the world.
I suppose this is difficult for the companies because, in many ways, they have to be responsible with content, but at the same time, they trade off outrageous, shocking content that lots of people want to see.
Yes, so that is a completely different issue. The issue of spreading misinformation and their algorithms is a slightly different issue. You know, so basically they have to, that part is the ambiguous part as mentioned in your report. So they're going to need to submit risk assessments to say how they're going to deal with those issues, and they have to submit an annual risk assessment to show how are they dealing with illegal content, misinformation, things like cyber violence against women and harm to children. They're going to have to explain to regulators what they're doing about it. However, the rules do not clearly define what they need to do because of the fact that that requires a greater understanding of the technology than we have today. So they're basically saying make sure that you're absolutely clear to consumers about what you expect from them, what they can do, why you remove information, and then basically the onus is on the companies to remove that information if it is bad as quickly as possible. Otherwise, face a 6% annual turnover fine.
And just briefly, are we likely to see other parts of the world now follow the EU's lead?
So opinions are divided on that. The GDPR legislation did very well, and that did act as a sort of benchmark that other countries sought to basically implement. However, will they do that in this case with the EU? I don't know. It literally depends on the relationships that different governments have with those tech companies. So if you are giving them preferential tax agreements in certain nations outside, beyond the EU, beyond the US and the UK, they might delay in terms of providing those legislations. However, However, there is anger around the world about misinformation. There is unhappiness about how children and young people use the internet and the potential harms. And regulators all over the world are trying to find a way to fix that. So it is highly likely that the EU will be used as an example of what to do or what not to do.
Okay, Mary Ann Russon, thank you very much for joining us on the NewsHour.